0.0607% of change.
0.0607% of change. All right, so today we're going to talk about percent of change, and this is Cruz, if you haven't met Cruz. And let's get started. So percent of change, we start out by doing the amount of change over the original amount equals percent over 100. The original amount is always the first number.
First number.
First number, thank
First
you.
number.
Are you going to do that the whole time?
No.
Be a goofball? Okay, good. So we have amount of change is equal to the large number minus the small number. Steps to find the percent of change? Step 1, find the amount of change. Step 2, can you read that?
Set up and solve the proportion.
Very good. Step 3, state whether it's an increase or decrease. Yep, up or down.
Up or down, up or down.
All right, find each percent of change. Round to the nearest tenth of a percent. Tell whether the change is an increase or a decrease. So for our first problem, we have 24 to 21.
What is a percent of change? Tenth of percent of change.
Well, I'm going to tell you. Just slow down, Turbo.
Okay.
Okay, so step 1, find the amount of change. So remember, that's taking the large number minus the small number. So 24 minus 21 is 3.
Simple.
Yep, that's simple. Step 2, set up and solve the proportion. Remember, that's the amount of change over
the original amount.
Equals percent over 100. All right, so what was our original amount? Do you know?
24.
Very good. It's always the first number. And then the amount of change is what we just did. So we have 3 over 24 is equal to P over 100. We're going to cross multiply here. 3 times 100 is 300. 24 times P is 24P. We then divide by the number next to the variable. So we divide both sides by 24.
What do we get then?
I don't know. Let's look.
24.
No. So what's 24 divided by 24?
1.
Very good. Anything over itself is a big fat 1. And we'll get 12.5. So our percent of change is
12.5.
Yeah, and since you haven't learned this yet, but the 10th place is where the 5 is at, and so we don't need to round it because it came out exactly. Oh, Gabby's saying we don't learn that until 5th grade. Okay, so now we need to decide, was it an increase or a decrease? So if you go from 24 to 21, is that an increase or a decrease?
24 to 21, that's a decrease.
Going down, so that's a decrease. Decrease. All right, 50 to 41.
50 to 41.
First thing we need to do is
find the amount. Find each percent.
No, you were right. The first time you were getting ready to find the amount of change. So we find the amount of change.
Which is 9.
Very good. 50 minus 41 is 9. Then we're going to set up and solve our proportion. Remember, it's the amount of change over the original amount equals percent over 100. So we'll have 9 over 50 is equal to P over 100. Cross multiply. This one you could almost do in your head. So 50 times P is 50P. 9 times 100 is 900. Divide both numbers or both sides by the number next to the variable called the coefficient. Ooh, fancy, huh?
Sure.
And we get P is equal to, you're pretty happy with yourself, aren't you? All right. We don't need to round here because it's a whole number. So P is equal to 18%. And if we go from 50 to 41, Gabby, that's a decrease, right? 50 to 41.
Decrease.
Okay. Next we have 56 to 71.
That would be
First of all, we need to find the amount of change. 71 minus 56 is 15. Set up and solve the proportion. Why don't you take a moment here and... Oh, Gabby's sneaking in here. You need to get in close because... All right. So set it up and see if you can get the answer on your own. I've got to pause one. They're supposed to pause the video, and we'll wait for them.
Okay.
All right. Let's get back. So hopefully you set it up something like this. And cross multiply, you'll get 56p is equal to 1500.
Dang.
Divide both sides by 56.
So we learned that.
Whoa.
You did learn that?
Yeah, we learned that the variable next to a number means multiply.
Exactly.
Whoa, that's a big number.
Okay, now this is where we are going to have to round to the nearest tenth. So that's the digit right after the decimal point. So that would be 7. And we need to decide, are we going to round that up to 8 or leave it as a 7?
8.
And why do you say that, Cruz?
Because 7 is a number that rounds up.
That is true. However, you're not looking at the 7. You should be looking at the 8 to decide if the 7 rounds up. So, but we do round it up because it's an 8. So we'll get 26.8%. And was that an increase or a decrease?
I think that was an increase this time.
So if you go from 56 to 71,
that's definite.
That's an increase.
That's an increase.
Increase.
Okay, why don't you see if you can solve this problem all your own while we sit here, wait, and pick our noses?
No, we're not going to pick our noses.
You're not? Oh, okay. How about if we pick each other's noses?
No, that's disgusting.
Okay, well, you guys do the video while we decide who's going to pick whose nose. And pause the video and come back, and we'll have a nice booger to show you.
No.
All right, so hopefully you found the amount of change on your own. 24 minus 20 is 4. Set up and solve the proportion. Amount of change over original amount equals percent over 100. So we'll have 4 over 20 is equal to p over 100. Cross multiply. We'll get 20p is equal to 400. Divide both sides by 20.
What does the p mean?
P is the unknown. We're trying to find out. Basically,
the variable.
Very good, the variable.
Hey, we're learning variables.
You've been actually learning variables for a long time. The little boxes and stuff.
Oh, those are variables.
Those were technically those were variables.
Yeah, but we're learning the better variables.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're better, but they're more official. So, all right. So state whether it is an increase or a decrease. So if we go from 20 to 24, is that an
increase?
Increase.
Increase.
All right. Last problem, I think. The population and density of California was 151.4 people per square mile in 1980. By 1990, it had increased to 190.8 people per square mile. Find the percent of increase to the nearest percent.
It already tells you if you're increasing or decreasing because it says increased.
That's true. Yeah. You're absolutely right. So we need to find the amount of change. So which we've got a bunch of numbers in here. Which two numbers are we going to use? Gabby, you have the answer? Okay, what?
No.
Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. Okay, what numbers are we going to use, Cruz?
151.4 and 190.8.
Very good. So we'll use those two numbers. And that's our... Do you know what that 39.4 is? What that represents?
The difference?
It is a difference, absolutely, because it's a subtraction problem. Very good. It's also the amount of change. So how much it changed. So we'll set it up as 39.4 over 151.4 equals p over 100. And we'll get 1.51.4 p equals 3,940. You can't yawn in the middle of a video. No. Yeah, ruined it. Now, what are you trying to say? Math is boring?
No.
You just need to go to bed earlier. All right. So we divide both sides by 151.4. And we'll get all of that. And we're rounding to the nearest percent. So that's the nearest whole number.
We only went to the hundreds.
It would be 0 because the 2 rounds down.
Well, but that's rounding to the tenths. We want to round to the nearest whole number. Oh. So the nearest whole number is going to be at the 6. So do I round that 6 up or do I leave it the same? Look to the right.
Because 0.
Okay.
And it would round down. It would 0 round down, so it would stay the same.
Exactly. So we'll get 26%. Nice job.
I've only gone to the hundreds.
And that's the end. And you only went to the hundreds. Okay.
Yay.
So we are done for today. If you have any questions, please post them on Edmodo, and we'll do our best to answer them. Oh, gosh, time to go. Goodbye.